The Miyoo Flip has been an eagerly anticipated handheld for some time now. We originally saw early images of the Miyoo Flip mock-up just over a year ago. Since then, news of the Miyoo Flip has trickled out until an official announcement was released. Even after that, the release of the Miyoo Flip has been up and down in terms of which suppliers had stock and how long it took them to get that stock. The original Miyoo Mini was an amazing little console. However, it also had a very random story in terms of how and when it was released and how difficult it was to get your hands on one. Over the past few months, I've been waiting patiently for my Miyoo Flip to arrive, and now it's finally here. But does the Miyoo Flip live up to the history of the Miyoo Mini and the hype, or is it a Miyoo Flop? I've been using the Miyoo Flip as my main console for the past week to answer these questions, and this is what happened. When ordering my Miyoo Flip, I fell in love with the initial images of the Pikachu themed version, based on the original limited edition Pikachu variant of the GBASP. Initial images made the Miyoo Flip look like a clone console of the GBASP, similar to the RG35X XSP. Now obviously for copyright reasons, Miyoo couldn't officially release a Pikachu version, however they do have a yellow version with red buttons, so I ordered that. But I have to say, when I initially opened the Miyoo Flip box, I was somewhat underwhelmed. The Miyoo Flip looks a lot more like the Powkiddy V90 rather than the RG35X XSP. The V90 is a flip console and came out before the 35X XSP, but unlike the XSP, which is a clone console of the Game Boy Advance SP, the V90 and the Miyoo Flip are better described as a homage console, meaning that the RG35X XSP looks almost identical to the GBASP, whereas the V90 and the Miyoo Flip copy the overall design idea, but clearly look different in detail. The Miyoo Flip looks like it's made out of a cheaper plastic than I would have hoped, which initially gave me a somewhat deflated feeling. Which is a shame because I was really excited for the Miyoo Flip, and the long wait had only increased my anticipation. Regardless, the Pika yellow and red buttons still looked really cool, to the point where I really want to get a Pikachu sticker to stick on the lid. Firing up the Miyoo Flip and I was greeted to a pretty familiar looking UI, similar to the original Miyoo Flip design but with some really nice touches. Firstly, the background music is the same as you get on the PS Vita. Long-term viewers of the channel know how much I love the PS Vita, so that was an easy win for me. Something else I really love is the volume indicator, and the fact that it isn't just a bar that increases or decreases. It's like a little grid of squares that fills up like a Tetris game. Now, it's only a small detail, but I love it. And I think small details like this are a big indication of overall quality. Looking through the available emulation options, and it was as you would expect. Covering emulation for all the early console and arcade generations, all the way up to and including Dreamcast and PSP. Jumping straight into PSP emulation, and performance is brilliant. Having been enjoying MotoGP recently, I decided to copy this onto the Flip and carry on with some racing. Copying files over is a doddle, and getting MotoGP running was no problem. MotoGP runs really smoothly on the Miyoo Flip, and the overall experience is elevated by the really well designed, albeit small sticks, enabling nice smooth controls which don't hold back from the game experience. Even with a smaller screen than usual for PSP emulation, the Miyoo Flip game experience definitely outweighs the sum of its parts, making for a really engaging gameplay experience. Despite being so capable, both analog sticks don't get in the way at all, with the Miyoo Flip closing nice and smoothly. When closed, the Miyoo Flip is a nice compact design which protects the screen brilliantly and in theory should be really pocketable. However, the Flip shares the same issue as all Flip consoles in the fact that when closed, it actually becomes quite chunky. Having said that, the Miyoo Flip still remains one of the best portable devices around in the fact that it is so well protected when closed, making it incredibly comfortable to carry around with you without the worry of any damage to the controls or the screen, leading to a fantastic pick-up-and-play console that can deliver some serious quality gaming. Throughout the week, I really enjoyed having the Miyoo Flip with me and in my pocket wherever I went. It really took me back to that nostalgic retro feeling of having the Game Boy Advance SP in my pocket. Being able to have such an easily portable console with me throughout the week is exactly what I need in my gaming because it enables me to get as much gaming in as possible. And yes, pretty much all of these retro handhelds these days are considered portable, but portability is kind of like a spectrum where some are highly portable and some are hardly portable at all in the fact that you can hold them, but they're not that comfortable to take around with you. The Miyoo Flip, although a bit chunky when closed, definitely sits in the highly portable area. I found myself at many times throughout the week being able to just kick off my shoes, relax my socks, and enjoy some sweet retro gaming. Something I referred to back in my RG34XX Week challenge was how I loved watching Pokemon on it, as it reminded me of the GBA video cartridges, but unfortunately the same can't be said for the Miyoo Flip, because it doesn't have built-in video support. Now hopefully with some software updates this will be possible, because with it being a flip console, it would be amazing to have it just sat there on your desk playing some Orange Islands like a mini laptop. But unfortunately out of the box this is not possible. What the Miyoo Flip does have though are some awesome ports. For example, Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge, Sonic Mania and Half-Life. And it is really nice fun being able to dive into these types of games on this kind of device. Although the Miyoo Flip might not feel as much like an original Game Boy Advance SP, it makes up for it with the analog sticks. Something that became really useful over the weekend. With it being the PGA Masters over the weekend, I couldn't resist loading up Tiger Woods 10 on the PSP, and the Miyoo Flip performed brilliantly. Tiger Woods is one of those games where having decent analog sticks is really important, as that's how you swing your club, and the analog sticks were great, providing a much better game feel than their size would have you think. Towards the end of the week, I rounded things off with some Dreamcast emulation, and no surprise the Miyoo Flip handled Dreamcast with absolute ease. I have to admit that I was initially hoping for a clone console from the Miyoo Flip, and was initially disappointed when I realised it was more like the Powkiddy V90 than the RG35XX in terms of look and design. However, the Miyoo Flip managed to impress me in all areas and become a fantastic pick up and play, durable and portable console with huge potential in gameplay and power. My gameplay over the week mostly focused on PSP with some Dreamcast, but I feel like the Miyoo Flip might slip into the position of being my go-to console for Pokemon games. Well, that's until I can judge it against my PKM Retroid Pocket Classic, which should be here any day. The power, portability, unique character and added analog sticks make the Miyoo Flip a console that has been well worth the wait, and an awesome addition to the Miyoo family. If you want to get your hands on one, links will be in the description below along with discount codes. However, if you want to check out the RG35XX SP, then check out this video right here.